Shalom. All praise and glory be unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachak Wadash. The abundance to the elder apostles at Great Millstone, rule well, and what taught us knowledge. Honors and salutations to you, fellow laborers, doing the work week in and week out, pushing the words of truth according to scriptures. Shalom to you and shalom to the few Akwaf that believe as well. Fair use. This is for teaching and educational purposes only. This guy Harry Rosenberg, he's a self-proclaimed rabbi. He's trying to defame us, by going on these different podcasts and trying to denounce the fact that, that we are those people, according to the scriptures. And he's trying to act like when it pertains to the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, when they went on the slave ships, that he trying to act like we don't know who they are, which we do know. We do know who they are. And this guy is just a total. He's just a total deceiver, man. Just to say the least. So let me let a little bit play. Fair use again. Let me let a little clip play, and I'm gonna get right to it. And Lord willing, this video is edifying.
You'll see in a lot of the comments, oh, those people, those Jews, those white European Jews, they don't fit the description of the curses. So this is context to what they mean when they say that. And so they're saying because you don't fit the curses, you can't be from the house of Israel. So then I say back to them, like, wait, so only if you were on a slave ship are you being from the house of Israel? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, so what about the Igbo tribe back in Africa where you came from, who are saying they're from the house of Israel? Are they not from the house of Israel? So that question just what's the response? What are you going to say? It just disproves the whole logic of the exclusivity of the curse. Right. And once you can disprove it with the people.
So we know about the Igbos and the people, different tribes that come from West Africa, because those same people he named and mentioned, they are over here. And you have a lot of which, because he, in this video in particular, there's other videos of him admitting that the so-called Negroes that came over here are the Jews. And I can pull that video up too, which I'm going to pull it up. But so-called blacks is over here in America, and even on the islands, they know the different tribes they go back to, going back to the west coast of Africa where they fled to, 70 AD, mainly from Roman persecution. They know that. You have a lot of celebrities that are the Israelites that are from those different tribes. So we never said that if they ain't go on slave ships, they wasn't a part of the people, because every single Israelite from the west coast of Africa didn't get on the slave ship, but there were millions of them that were captured and put on the slave ships, the cargo slave ships, and brought over to the Americas, the ones that made it or survived the voyage. And how you know that he's lying? Because we always go into the scripture of the scattering. We know about the disbursement of Judah. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy 28 and 64. It says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even to the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." So we know that the Israelites are scattered among all people, especially the dispersed of Judah. When you go to Isaiah 11, see, this is the reason why they don't want to have us on here. We go into these different things. Isaiah 11 and 12, right to the point. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, which is the northern tribes, so-called Hispanics and Native Americans, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth, because Judah, was dispersed into the four corners of the earth, which are Judah, Benjamin, Levi. So we do go into that history, in the scriptures. Clearly this man is lying. Okay, let's go back to the video.
You can disprove it with the people still who never went on ships, then it's the greater exile of the nation who scattered around four corners of the world. The argument is based on race. They're saying that because those people who are white were not on the ships, so therefore they're not part of this prophecy? Asian, Japanese.
There are plenty of scriptures. You go on my page, you go on other brothers' page, on up to the elders, the elder apostles. We always go into the fact that Israel is a speckled bird, which is a speckled bird has many colors. I mean, again, another lie, man. Jeremiah 12:9, it says, mine heritage, which who's the Lord's heritage? Jacob, all right, Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. So how does a speckled bird look? A speckled bird has many colors. It says, my heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her, which would be the heathens, man. So still, we know that Israelites can look like Edomites, look like this guy in this video, because he's an Edomite. All right, Harry Rosenberg, he's of the house of Esau, Edom, of the tribe of Amalek. All right. And we know that Edomites look like, we know that Israelites look like Edomites. You got Israelites look like Moabites, which are so-called Chinese. You have Israelites look like the so-called Japanese, which are the Ammonites. Israelites look like the so-called Arabs, which are the Ishmaelites. You have Israelites look like the so-called Hamitic nations, which are which are the so-called Africans today, and so on and so forth. East Indians, which are Elam. You know, we know the Israelites are scattered among all people, so we don't hold back. We go into that. We go into the day of Pentecost where all these Israelites came from all these different lands, and they were speaking in their own tongue, and then they all came back to Jerusalem to worship from all these different lands. We know that Israelites gonna come out of all these lands, so that's a lie, man. All right, but one point that he said, which is the host, because they're not so-called white people. First of all, the slave ships that came from the west coast of Africa, they didn't have so-called white people on the slave ships as slaves, which is a fact, man. I mean, come on. And I've actually took time to dig up some history. I'm gonna go to Genesis 42. All right, and then before I go to that, I'm gonna pull up another another tool, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, and it was put together by theologians and scholars, and excuse me, they know that the Negroes are different from the so-called Africans. All right, so this is Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. It says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, which Libyans go into Put. The Egyptians are Mizraim. When you go into Genesis, the 10th chapter, which I can click on that real quick. Let's go to Genesis 10 real quick. The sons of Ham. It says Genesis 10:6, and the sons of Ham, Cush, which are the Ethiopians, Mizraim, which are the Egyptians. You have, it says Input, which are Libyans, and Canaan, which is the Canaanites, right? So we know that. I mean, these are the darkest races on earth, but they're not the progenitor of the Negroes, or the Negroes don't come out of these particular Hamitic people, because the Negroes come from Shem, a whole nother line of one of Noah's sons, which is Shem. All right, so we know that these are the darkest people. Now, when you go into the scriptures, I want to go into the account of Joseph. Let's deal with Joseph. Genesis 42. Just because this is history about um, the time that Joseph, which was Jacob's son, he was thrown in the ditch by his brothers. They was being wicked. They threw him in the ditch, and the Ishmaelites came and took him to Egypt as a slave. And he rose into a high ranking within the Egyptian empire. Okay, pretty much he rose in the position of second in command, pretty much. So this is Genesis 42 and 2. This is going to the time period. It says in well, yeah, start at verse 2. Well, start at 3. Well, come, yeah, we just start at the top because I want to get the backdrop of the story. Genesis 42 and 1. Now, when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do ye look one upon another? And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, which he had by Rachel, right? Joseph and Benjamin is the two sons that Jacob had by Rachel. So the other 10 outside of because it would have been 11, but Benjamin stayed back as I'm reading. It says, but Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, least peradventure mischief befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor of the land, and it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself stranger to them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan, to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. So going back into this time period, right? It says that Joseph knew his brother, but his brethren knew him not. And this goes to show you, because going back to the definition of Ham, it says that he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. The reason why they didn't recognize Joseph is because he was dark like the Egyptians. You don't get white from black. I'm sorry, you don't get black from white. You get white from black. All right, on way from. I'm saying it just to keep it simple. You can't go from being, light to dark, unless you get with darker nations of people. And how darker nations get light because they get with the lighter skin tone over time. But we all know that the darker genes are the stronger genes. That's common knowledge, right? So the fact that they didn't recognize Joseph lets you know that he was a dark-skinned man. Because the Egyptians, which are people like the Sudanese today and whoever come with them, they're really, really tall and they're super dark. All right, super dark. Now, let me see here. There's another point, and I'm gonna go right to the point. Bear me 1 second, because this is a important history right here, man. To show you that the Israelites were a dark-skinned people. This is what Gamal Abdul Nasser, which was the president of Egypt, during the time of the three major battles between the Palestinians and the Israelis. He said, how did the Jews leave black and come back white? This is what he meant by that. Okay. Now, bear me 1 second. Because I wasn't going to get this other part, but I want to get it, though. I want to get it. I want to get this part. Bear me 1 second. Shalaki, it's a point I want to grab in here, seeing that, Joseph was a dark-skinned man. Because I want to get to the part with Jacob. It's been a while. I want to go to the part where Jacob met with Joseph. Here we go, right here. Genesis 45:1, it says, Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all of them that stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out. It says, Cause every man to go out from me, and there stood no man with him. While Joseph made himself known unto his brethren, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Does my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. See? And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. See? All right. Now therefore be not grieved nor angry with yourselves that you sold me hither. For the Heavenly Father did send me before you to preserve life. So, Joseph had to even, he had to even break down and make known that, hey, this is me. All right, and to his own brothers, because they didn't know him. Okay, they didn't recognize him at all. All right, and now if he was like a Edomite, all right, so-called white person, I mean, how would that be hard for the, Joseph's brothers to not figure him out? They would easily spot him among the dark. All right, remember the dark races. All right, of people, and this is during the Egyptians. All right, empire. They would have easily spotted Joseph. All right, you got a whole nation full of so-called black people, and if you had one white person among them, they would easily spot him out because he would stand out automatically, man, around these super dark people. Okay, and the same thing goes for the people that was put on the slave ships. They were super dark, man. And a vast majority did a lot of them get on the slave ship? Of course. You go into history, there were a lot of them that got on the slave ships, right? That was forced on the slave ships. A lot of them didn't make it across there either. Hence, you have the shark trails that the sharks still swim to this day because of the bodies they were eating. Okay, doing the route through the waters, all right, to the Americas as you know them today. So, that's something that they like to leave out. Okay, even the fact that when Moses, which was a Levite, was among the Egyptians, see, when they spotted Moses, they said the same thing to Moses. Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Let me go to my other app. This is the book of Exodus. You see here. Exodus chapter 3. Actually, no, it's in chapter 2. This is Exodus chapter 2 and verse 10. I'm gonna read down a little bit. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, which means drawn, right? And she said, because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, which are the Israelites, right? And looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. See? And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? Meaning what? They asked him why did he smite one of his own? Because why? They mistaken Moses to be an Egyptian, which is again, they come from what? The dark races. See? So you have Moses raised in Pharaoh's house, more than likely dressed like the Egyptians, and also being the complexion, all right, of the Egyptians. They didn't notice him, all right? They said, why smitest thou one of thy fellows? So this show you that the children of Israel were people of color, all right, different shades of brown, all right, and even back then, really dark. So this is something that they don't want to go in. This is the reason why they don't have a dialogue with, the camps, all right, especially of One West, to debate the scriptures, because the scriptures clearly show you that the children of Israel were dark-skinned people. We never said that the Israelites can look like so-called white people, because you had a thing with slavery and through genocide, and even now, Jake get with Edomite women, and they have children with them. We always bring up examples like Blake Griffin to prove a point. All right, so we never once said that they couldn't be Israelites among other people. Okay. Matter of fact, stay in the same chapter. That what made this miracle that Moses did before Pharaoh so special. All right. Exodus 4 and 5. I'm sorry, 4 and 6. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Meaning what? It looked so-called white. All right. That's what made the sign that he showed before Pharaoh, all right, so great, because here it is, a super dark skinned man putting his hand in his bosom, in his garment, taking it out in his hand of a so-called white person. That's a miracle, or a sign, or a wonder. If he was a so-called white person and pulled his hand in his bosom, pulled out and it was black, then it'd be, that'd be another thing if they were so-called white people. But it wasn't so. It said lepers as snow. Okay, just like Miriam. If you don't know what lepers as snow is, here it is. Miriam, Numbers 12 and 10. It says, and this is during the time of Miriam and Aaron, and they were speaking against Moses, and the Most High cursed Miriam because she's the woman speaking out of order. Numbers 12 and 10. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. See? That's what made Moses' miracle that he did before Pharaoh put his hand in his bosom, and it turned leprous as snow. You know what? White as snow, or like a Caucasian person's hand. That's what made it a sign or a wonder, or made the power of the Most High appear to be great, because he is great in power. And that's a great miracle that he did before Pharaoh using Moses. So it says, Exodus 4 and 6. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. So, that was the miracle. And this is the same thing that they keep out of the movie Exodus with Charlton Heston. They don't show you the miracles he did before Pharaoh, except for the snake, the serpent. But the hand putting his hand in his bosom, which is right here in the Bible I just read, they don't show that, because why? They being deceptive. They being deceiving. See? And this is the reason why they want to be so much like Jake, to the fact that he's trying to use that they are, the kingdom of Judah spread throughout the earth. They want to be like the kingdom of Judah. See? It's not the other way around. And if you didn't want to be like Judah, you wouldn't have took on them. Excuse me. You wouldn't take on the identity of the kingdom of Judah, especially. Because they took on all our identity, right? But especially the kingdom of Judah. Which even in this same interview, if you look at this interview right here, in this video, it's it's let me see. Buckle up with I don't know his name. Let me see. Buckle up with Mike and Amy. They mentioned it in this podcast. I watched the whole thing. And then bring out one scripture. He in this video he admits that the transatlantic slave trade is a prophetic event, because he referred to Deuteronomy 28 chapter, which the people that got on the slave ships were all so-called black people from the west coast of Africa. So I mean, why are we debating over that when we know the truth? Okay, we know the truth. So again, you're looking like a fool. Job 15 and 6 again. It says, thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I, yet thine own lips testify against thee. See? So that's you, man. To condemn your own self, and you want to defame the real Israelites, and make yourself seem like as though you're the people. And you don't never go in the scriptures and prove anything, and we always do. Again, that's why it's a controversy. See, and it's not going to stop because the Lord is raised up his sons, all right, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, beginning with Judah, because Judah is the lead tribe, and Judah is the head, and he's going to rally up the rest of the tribes. Okay, that's why it says that Judah is a couching lion. It says, who shall rise him up? The Most High is rising up Judah, man. Anyways, with that, I'm gonna close. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Until next time, I want to say shalom.